March 16, 1943. North Atlantic Ocean, approximately 50 degrees north, 40 degrees west. The wind howls like a banshee across the slate-gray waves, whipping foam into the air and chilling the bones of every soul aboard the lumbering convoy HX-229. 40 ships strong, this vital lifeline from New York to Liverpool plows through the swells, their hulls groaning under the weight of tanks, ammunition, food, and fuel. Everything the Allies need to keep the war machine grinding against Hitler's Reich. You can almost feel the deck shudder beneath your feet as the corvette HMS Mansfield slices through the water on the starboard flank, her Aztec sonar pinging desperately into the abyss below. Captain Frederick Johnny Walker, aboard the sloop HMS Starling nearby in the escort group, scans the horizon through binoculars fogged by his own breath. His face is etched with lines from months at sea, his uniform damp and salt-crusted. "Keep sharp, lads," he mutters to his bridge crew, their eyes red from lack of sleep. The air reeks of diesel exhaust and the metallic tang of fear. Below decks, able seamen huddle around dim lanterns, clutching mugs of cocoa that do little to ward off the cold seeping through the steel plates. Suddenly, a lookout's cry pierces the gale. "Torpedo wake!" Port side. The alarm klaxons blare, shattering the tense quiet. Aboard the merchant ship Southern Princess, a 12,000-ton tanker laden with aviation fuel, Chief Engineer Thomas Riley races to the engine room, his boots slipping on the wet gratings. Full ahead. Evasive, the captain bellows over the intercom. But it's too late. From the depths, Captain Lieutenant Adolf Pining in U-600 has already loosed his deadly fish. G7E electric torpedoes streaking silently at 30 knots, their warheads packed with 280 kilograms of hexanide explosive. The first torpedo slams into the Southern Princess amidships with a thunderous roar, sending a geyser of water and oil skyward. Flames erupt instantly, licking the superstructure as the ship lists violently. Screams echo across the water as crewmen scramble for lifeboats, their orange vests stark against the inferno. "Abandon ship! Abandon ship!" Riley shouts, hauling an injured stoker toward the rail. The sea boils around them, sucking at the hull like a hungry beast. Not far off, another U-boat from the Wolfpack, U-603 under Captain Lieutenant Hans-Joachim Bertelsmann, surfaces briefly in the chaos, its conning tower cutting through the waves like a shark's fin. The deck gun crew, bundled in oilskins, loads 88mm shells with practiced efficiency, targeting the straggling freighter Empire Liberty. Shells whine overhead, exploding in bursts of shrapnel that riddle the decks. Convoy Commodore J. Wilfred, aboard the lead ship, signals frantically with Aldous lamps. "Scatter formation. Escorts engage." The escorts swing into action. HMS Mansfield drops depth charges. Mark 7 cans filled with 290 pounds of amytal, rolling off her stern racks into the churning sea. Explosions rumble underwater, sending shockwaves that rattle teeth and burst eardrums. In U-600's control room, Pining grips the periscope handles, sweat beading on his forehead under the red emergency lights. "Dive! Dive deeper," he orders, the boat creaking as it plunges to 150 meters. The hydrophone operator, ears pressed to his set, reports the pings growing fainter, but the danger is omnipresent. This is the Battle of the Atlantic at its bloodiest, a relentless cat-and-mouse game where Admiral Karl Donit's U-boat fleet, over 200 strong now, hunts in coordinated packs directed by encrypted radio orders from Berlin. In the first 2 weeks of March alone, these submerged predators have claimed over 140,000 tons of shipping, starving Britain of supplies and threatening to sever the transatlantic artery. Winston Churchill himself has called it his greatest fear, the one campaign that could lose the war. As night falls, the convoy reforms under a canopy of stars obscured by smoke. Survivors from the Southern Princess bob in life rafts, their faces illuminated by the dying flames. Walker on the Starling plots his next move, knowing that without better intelligence, these convoys are sitting ducks. Little does he know, far away in the English countryside, a team of brilliant minds is racing against time to pierce the veil of secrecy shielding these wolves. The attacks continue through the night. Another torpedo finds its mark on the freighter Naraiva, her cargo of grain spilling into the sea like blood from a wound. Crewmen leap into the freezing water, where hypothermia claims as many as the explosions. By dawn on March 17th, the Wolfpack, Robgraf, Sturmer, and Dranger groups combined, has sunk 12 ships from HX-229 and the overlapping SC-122 convoy, with more to come in the days ahead. The ocean is littered with debris, splintered wood, oil slicks, and the silent forms of the lost. Yet amid this carnage, a glimmer of hope stirs. Intercepted radio chatter, garbled and cryptic, hints at the enemy's movements, but it's locked behind an impenetrable code. The Enigma machine, that diabolical device in every U-boat's radio room, scrambles messages into billions of possibilities. If only it could be broken. April 3, 1943. Bletchley Park, Buckinghamshire, England. The morning air hangs damp and heavy, carrying the scent of wet grass and coal smoke across the sprawling estate. Inside Hut 6, a low, wooden building cloaked in wartime secrecy, the hum of activity is relentless. Typewriters clatter, teleprinters chatter, and the faint whir of electric fans battles the stuffy warmth generated by dozens of bodies and machines packed into the cramped space. You can almost taste the tension, a mix of cigarette smoke, chalk dust, and desperation, as mathematicians and cryptanalysts huddle over desks littered with codebooks, graph paper, and half-empty teacups. At the center of this maelstrom stands Alan Turing, his tie perpetually askew, his wiry frame bent over a table strewn with wiring diagrams and intercepted German signals. His eyes, sharp behind round spectacles, dart across a stack of perforated tape, each strip punched with the seemingly random letters of a U-boat transmission. "It's the naval enigma, Gordon," he says, his voice low but intense, addressing Gordon Welchman, his colleague and fellow codebreaker. Welchman, a pipe clenched between his teeth, nods grimly. "Sharks still eluding us," he replies, referring to the Kriegsmarine's unique four-rotor Enigma variant, a beast far more complex than the Army or Air Force models. The naval Enigma, used by Donit's U-boat fleet, is a cryptographer's nightmare. With 4 rotors instead of 3, and a reflector system that scrambles signals twice, it generates over 150 quintillion possible settings for each message. The machine itself, a boxy contraption of keys, rotors, and glowing lamps, sits in every U-boat's radio room, its operators tapping out orders from Berlin in bursts of Morse code. These messages, weather reports, grid coordinates, attack plans, are the lifeblood of the Wolfpacks, but to the Allies, they're gibberish without the daily key settings. In Hut 6, the Codebreakers are fighting a war of wits. Joan Clark, one of the few women in the section, scribbles furiously at her desk, her pencil tracing patterns in a crib, a guest phrase that might unlock a message. Nearby, a young Wren, leading seaman Margaret Davies, sorts through stacks of intercepts from Y stations, coastal listening posts that snatch German radio signals from the ether. The intercepts arrive in 5-letter groups: KXJPL, WZQRN, BFYMT, each a puzzle piece in a maddening jigsaw. "This one's from you, 559, Davies announces, pinning a fresh intercept to a corkboard. "Picked up off Iceland yesterday." Turing's team relies on the bomb, a hulking electromechanical device he designed to automate the decryption process. In a nearby hut, rows of these machines, each the size of a wardrobe, whir and click, their rotors spinning through thousands of combinations per minute. Electrician Harry Pierce, his sleeves rolled up and hands smudged with oil, adjusts a bomb's wiring drum, muttering about a faulty relay. The machine's incessant ticking fills the air, a metronome to the team's urgency. Each successful stop flags a potential Enigma setting, but false positives are maddeningly common, and the naval Enigma's extra rotor doubles the workload. The breakthrough, when it comes, is born of grit and luck. Months earlier, in October 1942, a boarding party from HMS Petard had captured codebooks and an Enigma machine from the sinking U-559 in the Mediterranean. Lieutenant Anthony Fawson and able seaman Colin Grazier swam through oily water to retrieve the precious materials, sacrificing their lives as the sub sank. Their hull, short signal codebooks, and Wetterkirchschlüssel tables, reached Bletchley in November, giving Turing's team a lifeline. By March 1943, they'd used these to crack the shark's cipher intermittently, but the settings change daily, and the U-boats are still sinking ships faster than the codebreakers can keep up. Today, Turing focuses on a new crib, a hunch based on a weather report format the Germans reuse. If we assume weather starts the message, he murmurs, sketching a diagram, we can narrow the rotor positions. Clark runs the configuration through a bomb, her fingers deft on the machine's plugboard. After hours of trial and error, a stop registers a possible key. The team feeds it into a replica Enigma, typing the cipher text letter by letter. Slowly, German words emerge. Convoy. HX-229. Angriff. The room falls silent as the implications sink in. They've cracked a message ordering a wolf pack to converge on the very convoy Captain Walker is fighting to protect. The decrypted signal is rushed to the Admiralty in London, where naval officers in the submarine tracking room plot U-boat positions on a massive chart. For the first time in months, the Allies have a glimpse of the enemy's playbook, grid squares, patrol routes, rendezvous points. But the clock is ticking. The Germans could change the Enigma settings at midnight, and another convoy, on 174, is already steaming into the U-boat gauntlet. Turing wipes his glasses, his mind already racing to the next intercept. In the Atlantic, men like Walker are counting on Hut 6 to turn the tide, but each decryption is a battle against time, mathematics, and the relentless ingenuity of the enemy, turning the tide, ultra-intelligence, in action. By mid-May 1943, the decrypted Enigma traffic, codenamed Ultra, flows steadily from Bletchley to the Admiralty's Operational Intelligence Center in the Citadel, a bomb-proof bunker beneath Whitehall. Here, in a windowless room lit by harsh fluorescent bulbs, Commander Roger Wynne pores over the plotting table, his uniform jacket slung over a chair back, a cigarette smoldering in an ashtray. Pins mark U-boat positions across a grid map of the Atlantic, each one derived from the latest decryptions. U-954 is shadowing ONS-5, Wynne announces to his staff, his voice clipped and authoritative. Plotters, mostly wrens in crisp navy skirts, adjust the markers with long pointers, the room echoing with the scratch of chalk on slate. Out at sea, the impact is immediate and visceral. Convoy ONS-5, a slow-moving armada of 43 merchantmen bound for Halifax, steams through fog-shrouded waters off Newfoundland. Commodore J.K. Brooke aboard the lead ship, the Empire Emerald, signals his flock to maintain formation amid 20-foot swells that crash over bows and send spray rattling against bridge windows. Escorting them is Captain Walker's second support group, the sloop Starling, destroyers Orby, Offa, and others, their gray hulls cutting through the murk like avenging specters. Thanks to Ultra, Walker knows the wolf packs are closing in. Groups like Fink and Amsel, totaling 30 U-boats under Donit's direct command. A decrypted message from BDU, Befehlshaber der U-Boot, headquarters in Berlin details their convergence. Attack at grid BD-14 at 0200. Walker, pipe in mouth, studies his chart under the dim red light of Starling's bridge. We'll hit them before they hit us, he tells his first lieutenant, Lieutenant Commander Weems. The air is thick with the scent of hot oil from the engines below and the salty bite of the North Atlantic. As dusk falls on May 4th, the first contacts ping on the escort's Aztec. Submarine bearing 220, range 1,200 yards, the operator reports, his headphones clamped tight. Walker orders a starshell fired, illuminating the sea in a ghostly flare. There, silhouetted, is U-192's conning tower, Captain Lieutenant Heinrich Brada at the helm, barking orders to dive. But Starling is faster. Depth charges tumble from her racks, detonating in a chain of underwater blasts that crumple the U-boat's pressure hull. Water columns erupt, and debris, oil, wood, bodies, bobs to the surface. One down, Walker mutters, but the night is young. The battle rages for 2 days, a frenzy of torpedoes, gunfire, and ramming. U-630 launches a spread at the freighter Bristol City, her hold crammed with locomotives. One hits, splintering the ship in a fireball that lights the horizon. Crewmen plunge into the icy water, where rescue sloops like HMS Snowflake haul them aboard with boat hooks, their limbs numb and blue. Walker, relentless, maneuvers Starling to ram U-202, the impact shuddering through the sloop's frame as steel grinds against steel. The U-boat's hull splits, air hissing from ballast tanks as it sinks stern first, Brada's crew trapped in the flooding compartments. Ultra's edge shines brightest in evasion. When decryptions reveal a U-boat line ahead, convoys are rerouted, sometimes by mere miles, slipping past the ambush like shadows. On May 6th, as the storm peaks with gale-force winds whipping waves into 40-foot monsters, Walker presses the attack. HMS Orbe's 4.7-inch guns bark at a surfaced U-125, shells exploding around its deck as the crew scrambles for the hatch. The sub dives, but depth charges from off a finish it, the sea boiling with escaping air. By May 7th, the wolfpacks are in disarray. Donut's encrypted orders grow frantic. Break off pursuit. Regroup at AK-23. But Bletchley intercepts them all, feeding the loop back to the escorts. In total, 6 U-boats are sunk in the ONS-5 melee, with only 3 merchant ships lost, a stunning reversal. Walker, exhausted but triumphant, signals the Admiralty. The tide turns. His group claims 4 kills, their hulls scarred but spirits high as they steam into St. John's for refit, the crew cheering from the rails. Back at Bletchley, Turing's team pushes harder. The bombs now number over 200, clattering day and night in expanded huts. A new capture from U-110 in 1941, its Enigma rotors and big ram tables, bolsters their methods, allowing faster breaks. But the Germans adapt. By summer, they introduce the Triton Cipher upgrade, sparking another blackout. Clark and her colleagues work 18-hour shifts, their eyes strained from poring over Banbury sheets, punched paper overlays to spot patterns in ciphertext. The human cost mounts on both sides. In the U-boat pens of Lorient, France, Donitz paces his bunker, unaware of the breach, attributing losses to radar or luck. His submariners, like those aboard U-175, face the abyss, crushed by depth charges, their boat imploding in darkness. For the Allies, Ultra saves thousands. Convoys arrive intact. Troops and supplies bolster the invasion plans for Sicily and beyond. Yet secrecy is paramount. No one outside the need-to-know circle suspects the Codebreakers' role, their victories whispered in encrypted signals of their own. As June dawns, the Atlantic grows quieter. U-boat sightings dwindle, wolfpacks recalled to lick their wounds. Churchill, in his war rooms, reviews the sinking charts. Allied losses halved, German subs decimated. The Battle of the Atlantic, once a hemorrhaging wound, begins to heal, all thanks to the invisible warriors at Bletchley. Legacy of the Shadows, Enigma's fall and the war's turning point. Previous section text. July 24, 1943. The Karaman submarine pens in Lorient, France, a massive concrete fortress rising from the Breton coast like a gray leviathan, its arched bunkers scarred by Allied bombs that barely dent the 20-foot thick roofs. Inside, the air is thick with the acrid smell of welding torches and diesel fuel, as yard workers swarm over U-505, patching her hull plates riddled from a recent depth-charge barrage. Gross Admiral Karl Donitz, his uniform impeccable despite the humidity, strides through the echoing cavern, his boots clicking on the oil-slicked floor. Flanked by aides clutching clipboards of lost reports, he inspects the boat's radio room, where the Enigma machine sits bolted to a table, its rotors gleaming under bare bulbs. These losses are inexplicable. Donitz growls to Captain Lieutenant Harold Lang, U-505's commander, who stands at attention, his face gaunt from weeks at sea. Radar? Aircraft? Or treason? The Admiral's eyes narrow. Over 40 U-boats vanished in May alone, a slaughter that forced him to withdraw his packs from the North Atlantic convoy routes. Encrypted signals from Berlin now carry his frustration, suspend operations in grid areas CA to CF. But unknown to him, each transmission is betrayed, plucked from the airwaves by British Y stations, and unraveled at Bletchley. Far across the channel, in the sun-dappled grounds of Bletchley Park, the Codebreakers savor their quiet victory. Hut 6 buzzes with a new rhythm, confidence. Alan Turing, pacing the lawn during a rare break, discusses refinements to the bomb with Hugh Alexander, chess master turned cryptanalyst. The Americans' new high-speed bombs will handle the traffic surge, Turing says, his voice carrying a hint of exhaustion. The U.S. Navy's versions, built in Dayton, Ohio, churn through Enigma settings at blistering speeds, their relays clicking like machine guns in vast warehouses. By now, ultra-decryptions arrive almost in real time, revealing U-boat refueling rendezvous with Milchku supply subs, fat targets for allied hunter-killer groups. At sea, the noose tightens. Off the Brazilian coast on September 4, 1943, Lieutenant Commander Dudley "Mush" Morton aboard USS Bowfin stalks U-185, her position betrayed by a decrypted refueling order. The sub's hydrophone operator picks up the distant thrum of propellers, but it's too late. Bowfin's torpedoes streak through the turquoise water, slamming into U-185's flank with detonations that send shockwaves rippling across the surface. Captain Lieutenant August Mouse and his crew scramble for the hatches as compartments flood, the boat rolling onto her side in a froth of bubbles and escaping air. Debris litters the waves, codebooks, uniforms, a floating Enigma rotor that Morton's men fish out with a boat hook, adding to Bletchley's trove. The Germans scramble for countermeasures. In Berlin's naval headquarters, engineers tinker with the Enigma, adding a fifth rotor option and the plugboard device to randomize connections. Donitz orders radio silence where possible, relying on dead reckoning and lone wolf tactics. But it's futile. Bletchley's team, now swollen to over 9,000 souls, adapts swiftly. Joan Clark deciphers a test message incorporating the changes, her calculations filling blackboards in Hut 8. "We've got the pattern," she tells Turing over lukewarm tea in the canteen, where the clatter of cutlery masks their whispers. By autumn, the Atlantic is transformed. Convoys sail unmolested, their escorts bolstered by long-range Liberator bombers from Coastal Command, closing the air gap mid-ocean. On November 1st, Captain Walker's group, now legendary, bags 3 U-boats in a single patrol off Cape Finisterre. Aboard Starling, the Aztec pings relentlessly as depth charges rain down on U-226, her hull crumpling at 200 meters with a groan audible through the water. Walker, knighted for his exploits, toasts his crew with rum in the wardroom, the ship rolling gently in calm seas that once teemed with peril. The broader war feels the shift. With supplies flowing unchecked, Allied forces launch Operation Husky, invading Sicily in July, their landing craft beaching under cover of ultra-guided airstrikes that preempt Luftwaffe raids. In Normandy planning rooms, generals pore over maps informed by decrypted Wehrmacht signals, Enigma's army variant long since broken. Hitler, in his wolf's lair, rages at Donitz during briefings, oblivious to the betrayal at the heart of his communications. "The enemy knows our every move," he thunders, pounding the table, but suspicions fall on spies, not codes. As 1944 dawns, U-boat losses mount to unsustainable levels. Over 200 sunk in 1943 alone, their crew's morale shattered. Survivors like those from U-505, captured intact by Captain Daniel Gallery's USS Guadalcanal Task Force on June 4, 1944, yield the latest naval Enigma settings, sealing the cipher's fate. Towed to Bermuda under wraps, the sub's secrets flood Bletchley with confirmatory data, ensuring no blackout endures. The silence of the U-boats echoes through the war's end. Donitz, succeeding Hitler in the Reich's final days, orders his remaining subs to surface and surrender on May 4, 1945, their Enigma's idol at last. In Bletchley, the machines wind down, papers burned in bonfires to preserve secrecy. Turing, his work classified for decades, turns to computing's future, unaware his efforts saved millions and shortened the war by years. Churchill's ultra-secret remains buried until 1974, its revelation stunning historians. The Codebreakers' triumph, not just machines cracked, but lives spared, stands as a testament to intellect over iron. The Atlantic, once a graveyard, flows free, its waves whispering of shadows dispelled by brilliant minds in quiet huts.